Alright, hi everyone, and welcome back to Product Training with Blue Triangle. So today we're going to talk about how to use Blue Triangle from the perspective of a DevOps engineer. We're going to talk about setting up your dashboards for RUM and synthetic monitoring. We'll talk about alerting and how to get that set up as well. And finally, we'll walk through some troubleshooting steps. Alright, so my name is Mark, and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle. And I do these training sessions each week about various topics related to web performance, analytics, and ultimately how to solve problems using Blue Triangle. So let's go ahead and get started. So today's training is really going to be centered around trying to answer this question, which is what are our needs as a DevOps engineer, and how can we use Blue Triangle to address those needs? And I've broken this down into three categories. I know that DevOps entails really various things, but I think focusing in on these three categories is really the heart of what we're going to need from a digital experience monitoring tool like Blue Triangle. So as far as monitoring goes, this is our real-time monitoring. So we're going to talk about dashboards and how to set up custom dashboards. This will be real user monitoring as well as synthetic. Then we're going to talk about alerting. So you can alert with your synthetic data and your RUM data. There's really tons of different alerts that you're able to set up in Blue Triangle. And we'll go through how to do that and maybe some of the typical alerts we might use. And then we're going to end with walking through a few troubleshooting steps, whether we're starting from an alert we just received or the dashboard where maybe we see a blip in our performance. What are the steps we should take to diagnose the issue as quickly as possible? So we're going to go ahead and walk through these things live, and like I mentioned, we'll finish with Q&A. So I'm going to jump over to the Blue Triangle portal now. All right, so here we are inside of Blue Triangle, and I'm on the dashboards right now. You can get there up here in the top left if you just click the dashboard icon. And right now I'm looking at the site overview dashboard, and this is actually a pre-configured dashboard, which means right out of the box, right when you first log into Blue Triangle, you'll have access to this. And there are a few other pre-configured dashboards as well, but I'm going to just talk through this one for today's training, but I would invite you to check those out and see if you like those as well. So as far as the dashboard goes, at a high level, you have your time period selector here. Right now we're looking at the last 6 hours. But you can change that to anything from the last 15 minutes, today or this week so far, all the way up to the last 90 days if you'd like. This option here controls your auto refresh rate. You can drop that down to 2 minutes or raise it up. You can also manually refresh the dashboard here if you'd like. The carousel allows you to cycle through multiple dashboards at a set interval. I actually did a training on the dashboard specifically 2 weeks ago, and so if you're interested in a little more information about really diving into the details of how the dashboard works and how to set up custom dashboards, you certainly feel free to check that out. So the site overview is where I'd like to focus because I think it's going to give you the best high-level glance at how your site is doing. One more thing is if you have multiple sites, you can choose between those here using this drop-down. So in the top left, this is our performance graph. This is minute-by-minute data for the last 6 hours. And here we can see all of our performance metrics over this time period. one thing is, and that includes page views. So you can go down to the legend tier to enable or disable some of these metrics if you'd like. There's also a few down here that may not be enabled that you can turn on. Then over to the right, we have our device metrics. So this gives you a high-level view of performance for your site broken out by device, mobile, tablet, and desktop. So you get things like revenue and orders, page views or page hits, and then just an onload performance number, as well as some the JS errors we've detected. Down below we have revenue and orders over time, and down here we can see a heat map of performance. So one very cool thing about this dashboard is, let's say I think that there's an issue in the United States, or we see that this is colored yellow, orange, or red. If you click into the United States, that's going to zoom in on the heat map, and it's also going to update the rest of the graphs on the dashboard. So now we can look at performance by each individual state within the United States. And you can also change the displayed metric here as well. So now we're looking at time to interactive, for example. So if we go back, the rest of the graphs in the table above is going to update. You can do the same thing for anywhere across the world. Another thing you can do is, let's say you'd like to focus in on the desktop data. You can just click that icon there, and that will update the rest of the graphs. All right, so this is going to be, I think, your bread and butter for real user monitoring. And then for synthetic monitoring, another great tool is going to be the synthetic performance overview. So from the synthetic performance overview, you'll be able to see each of your synthetic monitors listed here. You'll get the same performance, the same geography heat map over here, and then below you'll get a kind of a summary table of your synthetic data as well. And what's awesome about the this page, the error tracking and performance widget, is it'll bubble up the monitors and error state, and you can see when issues occur. For example, there's a 404 issue here, and you're actually able to click and drill into this error, and we can go into the synthetic test results. And here we see that 2 of the previous synthetic tests have failed, and you can go in and drill into that by clicking these for some more detail. So that's kind of a quick summary of some troubleshooting for synthetic. But let me back up, and let's go back over to the dashboard. And one other thing I wanted to show you in the dashboard is how you can actually go in and create a totally custom dashboard of your own. So you can do that by clicking the plus dashboard button there, or you can just click the wrench over here and open up the dashboard manager, and there's this add new dashboard button. But let's say we do that and create a demo dashboard too. So if you save the dashboard here, that'll take you to it, and you get a blank slate. And what you can do is add a widget, and you can choose from any of these categories, and that's going to open up a list of the available widgets for that category. Obviously RUM, synthetic, there's more business focused or marketing, tag governance widgets, but for this example I'll just open up the RUM options. Here we can see some summary tables and some more available widgets, but for this example we'll just choose the performance graph, and you'll just need to give it a name. If you'd like to apply any filter options, you can certainly do that. However, I would recommend noting what those filter options are up here in the name. Just to make sure you have a good idea of what you're looking at when it's live. So let's say we just want to see the performance for desktop. And there we go. So you can repeat that by clicking Add Widget here, and you can add any kind of widget you'd like and totally customize your dashboard. So let's touch on synthetic monitors briefly. So as far as synthetic monitoring goes, you can go in and set up synthetic monitors. If you click on synthetic monitoring there in the left navigation and then click on manage, you can go into your synthetic monitors here. So here, this lists your synthetic monitors. You can actually filter that down to the enabled ones here. And you can create synthetic monitors up here using this button. So I won't go through the full process here, but certainly synthetic monitoring I think is an important part of the holistic monitoring that Blue Triangle can provide, especially when troubleshooting issues, any blind spots that the RUM data has. The synthetic data is generally able to fill those up. So we have single page monitors, real browser monitors. So this loads the resources on the page as if it were a real user. We also have multi-step browsers, which are great to be able to go in and measure pages that require a session to get to. For example, the cart or the checkout page. And then we also have a base page and SSL monitor. So this is great for just a lightweight ping for availability. And it also monitors your SSL expiration date. So a quick note about that, you can set up one of these monitors to run, but we're actually automatically monitoring your SSL certificates for the first-party domains that you defined in your site settings. So if I go into my profile, I can actually go in here and set and be notified when my SSL certificate is coming up on expiration. And so you can read more about that here, but basically you'll get an email 2 months prior to the expiry date, and then 1 month before, 2 weeks before, 1 week before, and then each day before that expiry date. So that is definitely a good thing to do as well. And of course, another thing about synthetic monitoring is obviously it's availability monitoring, and you can even use it for functional testing. And it can also be used to hit pre-prod environments. Whereas real user data, using the Blue Triangle JavaScript tag, that'll require some folks to go in there and manually poke around. But you could also just set up some synthetic monitors to monitor that automatically. All right, so that is monitoring. The next thing I'm going to talk about is alerts. So since we're here in synthetic monitoring, one thing I can point out quickly is you can configure alerting for synthetic actually right here in the synthetic monitor configuration. And if you scroll down to the error tracking configuration section, this is where you can set up that synthetic alerting. So this isn't the only place you can do that. You can also set up synthetic alerts over on the alerts page, and I'll show you that in just a second. But I just wanted to point this out because we're here. Basically, the way this works is you can configure the look back window that the alert system should check. You can either have this set to be a percentage or the number of runs. You can define the minimum number of node locations that are required to trigger the error state or the alert, and then the number of runs required to trigger the alert. And then you can apply your notification groups here or a list of email addresses. And a quick note about notification groups, you can go, if you click on settings and underneath the other section, you'll be able to manage your notification groups there. All right, so that's synthetic. And if we go down here and click the alerts button, in the left navigation, that will take us to the alerts page. And we call these our rules-based alerts. So there's really tons of different alerts that you can create. So I'm going to just walk through the wizard here and show you a few of the options here. First thing you'll do is give it a name. Set your recipients. So for the recipients in the, who should get the alert, you can apply a notification group. You can set SMS numbers. You can use a Slack integration. And we also just added a PagerDuty integration that's available as well. And to do that, you just need to go in here and specify the API key for that. For this, I'm just using my email. So if we click next, here we can go in and choose the data type, real user, synthetic, or that base page and SSL monitoring data. Then the alert type, most of the alerts I think are going to be under the performance and business that DevOps engineers are going to be most interested in. And so with the performance alerts, you're able to choose a fixed value threshold or a % change or standard deviation threshold. And the alerting metric that we can use is any of the available performance metrics. These are all page level performance metrics. Of course, on load, base page, first byte, DNS, and the rest of these, timed interactive. There's also business ones down here. So let's set just a basic alert up for real user on load, and this is going to be a fixed value threshold. So if the average performance exceeds 5,000 milliseconds, we're going to get a warning alert, and if it goes over 8,000, we'll get a critical alert. Now here you can set the schedule, when it will be enabled, and what days of the week it will be enabled, as well as the time zone. You can choose to turn on reminders. So if you'd like to be reminded of an active alert, you can choose the period to be reminded. You can also apply a maintenance window. So for example, if you have low traffic overnight, it's typical to apply a maintenance window during that time period, so you don't have to get woken up in the middle of the night for a false positive. And then down here, the evaluation window defines basically the look back period over which our alerting system should check. And the minimum sample size is the minimum number of page views that are required to trigger an alert. So even though it may exceed these thresholds, if we don't have at least 100 samples or at least 100 page views, then this alert wouldn't get triggered. So we'll set this for 15 minutes just as an example. And then finally, you can set your filter options. So there's a variety of use cases here. Maybe you're only focused on a particular AB segment or maybe a particular data center location, maybe a device or a page name, or a country or a region, or any of those. So here we can see our alert in the list, and we can tell right now that it's clear, and we can see some of the settings here. So I just went through the a basic on-load performance alert, but I would recommend checking out some more of the possibilities. You're able to set up a percentage change alert, which is a very common alert type as well. And there's plenty more that you can do. All right, so the last thing I'll discuss today is troubleshooting. So when we get into troubleshooting, I'm going to go over to the dashboard. Sorry, clicked on our new digital experience overview page there. All right, so let's go back over to our site overview pre-configured dashboard. So I'm going to expand this and see if we can find a period of problematic, maybe a spike. So here it looks like we have a spike. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk through the steps we'll want to take when we see an issue if we're just monitoring our dashboard, or maybe we get an alert and it takes us in here and we see this in the performance graph. For real user data, really the best place to go is always going to be the real user performance detail page. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab, close that. And what we're going to do is we're going to zone in on August 8th and see what we can find out about this spike. So here we are on the real user performance detail page, and I'm going to set the time period to the 15th, apply the filters. Right, and right now we're just looking at all pages. So another cool thing you can do with these graphs is zoom in. I just did that on the dashboard. You can do that here as well. So here we can see there was a bit of a dip in the page views, and that correlates with a spike in the performance. It looks like a number of these metrics spiked, including timed interactive here, on load. So if I scroll down, this shaded region represents the what shows up in the scatter plot here. And this scatter plot is showing you the actual page views, and the triangles are showing us page views where resource timings data was also collected. And actually, just as I was hovering over a few of these, it looks like we're getting this error 500 page. So if we click on one of these error 500 pages, we can see more detail about this user's session over here on the right. And we can also see the URL as well as all sorts of detail about this particular page view. And another cool thing is if you have if your account uses Eternity for APM monitoring, you're actually able to go in to the Eternity, the details for this particular session. So here we can see there was definitely an issue with our host domain, and at this point it's pretty clear that there's some sort of back-end issue, and this would be the time where we should go over to our APM monitoring or our infrastructure monitoring and probably investigate further from there. But from Blue Triangle, we were able to see, hey, there's a spike in performance here. What's going on? Well, if we quickly check the performance detail page, it looks like there's an increase in the number of these error 500 pages. And from there, we can drill in for more info, and you can check multiple of these sessions and see more detail about what's going on here. It looks like we're coming up toward the end of our 30 minutes here, and I wanted to save time for a quick few questions if possible. So thank you everyone for your time, and I'm going to go ahead and check the questions chat in the questions tab now and see if there's anything I can help answer for you guys. All right, so I do see we have one question. How can I share a custom dashboard I've created with my team? Sure, so I can show you how to do that right now. So if we jump back over to the dashboard and we go into one of our custom dashboards, let's go to our demo 2. Right, so there's actually a share button up in the top right. And when you click this, it's going to share it with everyone in your account with Blue Triangle. So you can go ahead and just agree to share it there. And when you do that, for everyone else, it's going to show up in this shared dashboard section here in this dropdown. And it'll have a little shared dashboard tag, kind of like this pre-configured one. Of course, it's your dashboard, so you wouldn't see that for yourself, but others would see it that way. Well, with that, guys, we appreciate your time. And if you do have any more questions, we're happy to speak with you offline. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us here in support@bluetriangle.com. And you can also submit a request or a question in our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. All right. So, yeah. And for any more information about our product trainings, like how to watch some of our past sessions or how to register for upcoming ones, be sure to check out our help center. Again, that is help.bluetriangle.com. And when you're there, you can just click the big button for product training. All right, guys, that's all we have for you today. Thanks again for your time. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.